Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakakadash, double honors to the apostles and the elders, GMS, who will teach you being a great example to his younger brothers, and peace and blessings, salutation to the hopeful look out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful leg, the believers, the listeners that have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai. And where I wanted to go into today, is dealing with laboring to enter into their rest. Because we have to understand what we're doing now is considered a labor. If we're really fighting, to get into, the kingdom, we understand that it's an actual labor that has to come before that. And when you go into Hebrews, the 4th chapter, you go to the blue letter, and the blue letter have different titles, for different, sets of precepts. And when you go to the top of Hebrews, the 4th chapter on the blue letter, it says the believers rest. The believers rest. And there's a rest, there's an eternal rest that's coming for the nation of Israel, beginning with the elect, beginning with the believers. The believers are about to enter into a rest. And that's why we haste the end of this thing. The scriptures talk about how when you read in 2nd Ezra, the 8th chapter, that there's a place prepared where plenteousness is ready and rest is allowed. And that's on all levels, because I read Hebrews 4 and 11. This is Hebrews chapter 4, verse 11. It said, "Let us labor, therefore, to enter into their rest, lest any man fall after the same example of unbelief." So we're laboring to enter into an eternal rest. And when you go into Hebrews, the 4th chapter, he's going into that account, dealing with Joshua. When Joshua had to labor, go to war, Joshua and the children of Israel, he was aided, by the chariots, but they had to labor to actually go into the land of Canaan. They had to take down Jericho, which was Canaanite stronghold. And Joshua and the military of Israel defeated 31 kings of the heathens before going into the land. Before they entered into their sovereignty, they had to labor. Before they came into their sovereignty in their promised land, they had to labor. Now, it was a temporary rest. It wasn't the fulfillment, of the promise given to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, but it was a prelude. It was a temporary rest. And they had to labor to get into it. But then you have those back during the time of Joshua, because Joshua and Caleb was those two spies sent out, to spy out the land. And then you had 12 spies sent out. Then you had two, Joshua and Caleb, that came back with a report, that they could take the city. All right? And why did they have that report? Because they had faith. So there's a faith that's required to even have the mindset to enter into rest, man. But then you had 10 other spies, that was intimidated by, those giants that was in the land. But you had two, Joshua and Caleb, they were like, we got it, because they knew that the Lord, Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai, was with them. And that's the mind frame of the elect. Where Joshua was of, Ephraim, the northern kingdom, the head of the northern kingdom, and Caleb was of Judah, all right, of the southern kingdom. So that's the faith, all right, that would take from the elect out of each tribe to have to enter into their promised land. And then, going into labor in this time, I think now it's a spiritual war. Before we get into the promised land, before Yahweh Shai comes to deliver us, we're fighting spiritual wars, man. The first, spiritual war that we fight, is with ourselves, man. In the flesh. You see? That's the first war that we fight, is with ourselves in the flesh. because it's a fight to stay disciplined. It's a fight to show restraint. It's a fight not to be caught up in this world, because we live in a society that's real convenient to be wicked. It's very convenient to be wicked. But then doing righteous, it's an inconvenience in this society. And that's part of the fight. That's part of the labor. It's a labor, to live by a righteous standard within this society. Because when you go to restaurants, there's particular things you can't eat. Some restaurants you really can't even, go to like that. When you're shopping, you gotta, you try your best to, eat right. Read the ingredients, got pork casing on different things, and, pork disguised and different things. We try, to our best ability. We don't just be extremely over righteous, but, we try to live by a certain standard. In this society, it's a labor just to do that. Try to keep the high holy days to the best of our ability, but everything is inconvenient to be righteous in this society. So that's a labor. And then you have the external fight, with things pulling at you, your family, your friends, your co-workers, your spouse, all these different things, they can be pulling at you to hinder you within this ministry. We gotta conquer that. We gotta labor to conquer that. And then the labor of actually, being a part of the ministry. The time it take to read, combing through articles, keeping up with the news, watching alternative news, and, picking out the bones, and, taking the meat and filtering it through the scriptures, putting live streams together, putting precepts together, going into word. That's a labor. That's us toiling. You see? But we doing it now to enter into an eternal rest, because in the kingdom, the scripture talk about how we will not have to teach every man his neighbor, but how everyone should know the Lord. So we are laboring now to enter into an eternal rest. Even for you few sisters, it's a labor for you. All right, to be what, man? To be built up into something that's acceptable. All right, and to be an asset to a man of Yahweh Shema Shai. Not to fall back into that feminist queen of heaven spirit. It's a labor to stay away from that, because why? It's convenient to be there right now. It's convenient to be a feminist in this society. It's convenient to have that queen of heaven, spirits. It's convenient to be promiscuous. So you're laboring, all right, to stay on the standard. To live by a standard. Everyone is laboring. You're laboring to continue to make yourself better. All right, to reform back, to the women, of the scriptures, that was nation minded. So it's a labor all across the board before we enter into that rest, man. We got. That's why scriptures say, be abounding in the ministry. Since it's the scripture talk about in I think Luke the 4th chapter, since it was our mind to go astray, how we should seek the Lord 10 times more. Really, we should be going all out. Whatever our light is within this ministry, we should be going all out. We should be going above and beyond for salvation. That's the mind frame that we should have. Just like, you see sports, you'll see, players exhausted because they going all out. They call it leaving it on the field or leaving it on the court. That means you leave all your energy on the court. When the game over, you through. But when the game over, you can rest. You're not reserving anything. You're pushing it, man. Every play. And that's the mind frame that we should be in the ministry, man, and leave it all on the field, man. Leave it all on the field. Because guess what? At the end of this, we coming into an eternal rest, man. There's an eternal rest that awaits the believers. And it's going to be glorious. Again, we're going to get those new bodies that don't get tired. You know? So we're in a situation where, like the scripture say, they that wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. You know? What they, another thing in terms of sports, they call it second wind. You know? It's like when you exhaust yourself, you'll have a second wind to kick in, and it's like you started all over again. Like your energy level is back to 100, man. You know? But we have an eternal, second wind that's coming. All right, well, we'll never, be tired again, man. You know, so we in this time, we're gonna run these little raggedy bodies, to the ground, man, for Yahweh Shem Al Shai. You know, we do it with balance. Of course, you do it with balance. Take care of your body and get your rest on this side. It's important that you do get rest. Now for these bodies. But in our awakened hours, in our active hours, we should be going hard. And laboring for Yahweh Shem Al Shai within your lot, within whatever your portion is. So that's the point. I just want to bring that out, Lord. Will you brothers and you few sisters edified? Until the next time, I say shalom.